let's talk about GB10. Quick, and I like to ask questions, and I've been known to call on people in the audience that seem like they're not paying attention. So, question, who's heard about the NVIDIA Grace Blackwell GB10 super chip? Show of hands, how many have heard of it? NVIDIA doesn't count, Dell doesn't count. About half of you. Okay, good. So you're gonna learn a little bit more about it today. So I can handle most of all these things. If we have super technical questions, a la NVIDIA. So what we're gonna cover, what is the GB10, kind of industry use cases, give you a little bit of background, and then for those that aren't using Mac, obviously data science is very dependent on GPU compute, kind of talk about through some of the differences of, you know, the integrated kind of system on a chip design in GB10 versus like an RTX Pro card. And honestly, if you have questions throughout, please just ask the question. Like, you won't hurt my feelings if you interrupt. So you're gonna get one marketing slide because they made me. Within Dell, in our partnership with NVIDIA, okay, we'll go on. Here's the marketing blurb. So Dell is the only OEM, so like think Lenovo, HP, that has within a one company kind of end-to-end from kind of desk side all the way to the data center, kind of AI deployment and capabilities, right? Whether that is locally on an RTX, you know, an RTX Pro card with Dell Pro Max or a GB10, all the way up to a data center, which I really know nothing about. But I think what's great about our partnership, and I think NVIDIA would agree, is we've worked together a very long time, where at the end of the day, who thinks AI is a little complicated? Probably not most of you in the room, maybe some of you. But like when you go to customers, I can't tell you how many times they're like, hey, can I buy some of that AI? And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's not like buying a coffee, man. Like, it's a little more than that. You have to have an idea, use case, or a problem you're trying to solve. And what I love about the Dell AI Factory with NVIDIA, it's not just the hardware, but it's the services, the software, the hardware, and the infrastructure all wrapped up with very similar to what Travis mentioned before with like blueprints, use cases where you can just copy and paste and kind of go deploy, I don't know, digital assistant or an enterprise RAG chatbot or, hey, a coding assistant or whatever it is. So marketing slide done. Everybody love it? I loved it. Let's go. All right, what is the GB10? So how many of you have used like any PC with a GPU, whether it's consumer or a pro card for your data scientist work, whether it's in a data center or a PC? Most of you? Some of you? Okay. So we're going to get into a lot of the differences here, but let's kind of talk about Dell Pro Max. So it's NVIDIA's kind of first system on a chip design. It was announced at GTC this year. So everyone thinks it's kind of new. It's not. NVIDIA has done a version of the Spark. I think it was 2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, 2016. So it's not kind of the first time. So architecture-wise, a dedicated GPU is very different than, you know, an integrated kind of 128 gig, memory, VRAM, et cetera. So why kind of now? And I like to kind of think about it like this. Did anyone see who bought 3 Mile Island, like the power plant, the nuclear power plant at 3 Mile Island a couple of months ago? Did anyone see that news? It was Microsoft. And you want to know why? Because they're building their data center there and they need power to train their foundational models. So GPUs take a lot of power. Integrated system on a chip designs, guess how much, do they take more or less power? Less. So the idea is that one, we can scale AI even quicker, but two, by running FP4, we can load models that, for example, I have a 96 gig Blackwell card in my T2 workstation that I use for all my demos and stuff like that. There's models that I can't even load and run on that I can run on this system right here just because of the high amount of VRAM. So when we kind of walk through some of the use cases, you'll kind of start to get an idea. But this system is very, very different than a traditional workstation, right? We have, like I said, everything's integrated, but I think the big thing is that this comes out of the box with a lot of the underlying NVIDIA toolkits, which we'll get here, like cuML, cuDF, all of that. CUDA's installed. Fun fact, CUDA isn't even installed. Like when you buy an RTX card, you actually have to upgrade it to version 13. Doesn't even come with it. This out of the box is ready to go. So when you guys get it and start working, everything will be ready to go. So let's kind of talk about some of the features and benefits. Travis talked about the 1,000 AI tops.
Do we have access to these slides after?
What?
Do we have access to the slides after?
No. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you want them, do you want them? What are you going to do with them? Just. Yeah, it's will be recorded. Of course. Yeah, of course. So yeah, we'll whether it's me speaking to them or you seeing them again, we'll make sure you have them. So kind of the first thing is the AI tops piece. So, you know, plenty of kind of on-device system memory RAM to run really any model, right? That is ready to go. So GB10 is really designed for data scientists or anyone doing any sort of, computational mathematic workload, right? I think I heard someone was doing kind of healthcare, life science, behavioral data, whether it's that or someone in energy. It has kind of everything in the box ready to go. I think the biggest thing that I am most excited about is if you think probably a year ago, before the Blackwell dedicated cards came out, the most you could get in a singular card was 48 gigs of dedicated VRAM. We're now at 128. So there's models that, like, for example, in container sizes that you weren't able to run anymore. You weren't able to run just because you purely didn't have enough GPU compute. So I have a question about a Mac because I'm moderately curious, and I'm going to call on you because I know how much you love your Mac. Is how do you run kind of your data science? No, I'm calling on you. Don't try to hide. Yeah, you. I want to ask. So when you're running your data science workloads and you're running it on your Mac, like, where do you offload the compute to? Is it literally the Mac? Or are you using like a data center? You're using like a cloud GPU? What are you doing? Use a cloud GPU? You just like stab me through the heart. But that's why this was designed. I want you guys, if you promise not to steal this, because I only have one, pass it around. But that was designed to replace what you just talked about. So in taking the cloud with you, completely impossible. Taking a huge workstation, I mean, it's literally like the box of, it's kind of a heavy box of Kleenexes, I think, but it's basically the size of a box of Kleenexes where the compute you use can be completely offloaded. And we'll talk kind of how they're connected here in a second. But moral of the story, it is the design for that. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the, probably not the most demand, but where we're seeing demand is people that are in universities, whether that's a PhD or a doctoral program or a master's level program, are doing exactly what you're doing, is you're going to the cloud, because that's what's available to you, right? Where now that type of compute is available to you at your desk side. So the best part, not the best part, we talked about kind of the integrated like DGX OS and why I asked about Linux Ubuntu. So that's what it runs natively. It's the Ubuntu 24.4 or 04. So it's the NVIDIA flavor of Linux. The ConnectX 7, this is another great piece that I love, is you can see the ports on the back. So you can actually take two of these GB10s through the ConnectX 7 and create one unified device. So instead of running 128 gigs of VRAM, do my math, 256 gigs of VRAM and have it operate as a connected device. And the other cool part about it is if you want to put on network switch, we don't have to talk about all that, but it could be shared across a network. So we kind of talked about this. Let me see if there's anything on this slide that's not covered. Yeah, we've already kind of covered off on most of this. All right, so here's a few things that are, I think, important to know from what a GB10 is and what a GB10 isn't. So a GB10 is not a traditional PC. And I can't tell you, I mean, I've done a lot of internal kind of sales trainings and talks, is that the idea is that this, and I think this is pretty cool at the end of the day, is that we at Dell make PCs for everyone, right? Whether you're, a data scientist or you're my boomer parents that live in Missouri that like to check, on their granddaughter's like softball schedule, right? Like kind of anywhere in between. Well, that device you're passing around is not for them. This is designed purely for people that need GPU compute locally, kind of at their desk side, for whether it's data scientists, machine learning, neural network, whatever it is. It's really a purpose-built system. So at the end of the day, it was built for y'all. It's not really built for me, as you can tell, because I'm not a data scientist. Even though I'm okay, but I'm not great. So we kind of talked about that. If you run, how many people use like Adobe Photoshop in here? Do you think of Adobe Photoshop runs on this? No. You would be correct. You would be correct. So it runs Linux, but it's also ARM-based, right? So if you are someone in a creative industry or you're someone in a, engineering, et cetera, and you're running like SolidWorks, like any of those, this is not really designed for that. We have products for that, but this is really, like I said, very designed for, data scientists at the end of the day. Oh, I thought you had a question. We've covered this. We already covered all this. All right, so big use cases is we've kind of already talked about the research and development, kind of the higher ed. I think where it kind of breaks down, where I've seen demand, and we just launched this product, I think it was, somebody helped me out with the date. It was October 17th, 14th, 17th. Yeah, it was one of those days. But it was about not quite 2 months ago. And where we're kind of seeing the opportunity kind of lie is, let me pose a question. I'm going to call on you, blue shirt right there. So until we got to this point in the presentation, and so let's say you were using a cloud GPU, did you know of anything that existed that you could literally put in your backpack and take to school? Okay, does it make you excited at all? Are you lying to me? I'm not. Okay, perfect. That's all right. Well, I want to make sure, because that's where I think we're seeing the most demand, or most opportunity, is in higher ed. Because I have a friend, does not go to any of the schools you go to, but he's a PhD student in data scientist. And when we had this product, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, like, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm using a gaming laptop." I was like, "Oh, dear God!" And he's using a gaming laptop. And I was like, "Okay, we have something. What about all your compatriots? Like, what about your other students?" He's like, "Oh, they use my gaming laptop." And I think that is kind of the big opportunity where we work with students that see this device, get their hands on the device, they're going to see the opportunity. I think the other kind of big one is AI investment from a hardware standpoint can be very expensive, right? To go out and buy, I don't know the street price of an H100 or H200, but it's tens of thousands of dollars. Like, to go out and buy that is expensive. Then you're buying the rack, the power, the cooling, and all of the stuff that goes along with it. But for those that, the most expensive resources within a company, you know who those are. And I'm not talking about the CEO and the CFO. I'm not talking about C-suite. But generally, the most expensive resources are the people, or y'all. Y'all aren't cheap to hire, I'll tell you that right now. Not at all. But if you're not equipped with what you need to do your work, are we utilizing you at your full capacity? Absolutely not. And that's where I think we're seeing a lot of demand within AI, whether it's, AI startups, et cetera, or folks who are like, hey, we can't spend another XXX to add to our data center, but we need to have GPU compute in the hands of our data scientists, right? So next thing, I think most of you all know all of this, but let me kind of talk about kind of AI workflows on the GB10. Do you think, show of hands, extra point in the judging tomorrow, the first hand I see? No, I'm just kidding. Like, are you training like an OpenAI, OSS 20 billion on this, like a foundational model training? Are you training that on the GB10? No, that's correct. So data center still very much exists, but there's a lot that you can do on this, right? So prototyping, I see a lot of Macs in here. You guys like to write code and you like to do X, Y, Z. Obviously great for that. Fine tuning, right? An analogy, show of hands, everybody knows what fine tuning an AI model is, right? Like, I think is there anyone that doesn't know? And I'm not going to judge you if you don't know. Okay, there's a couple looks. I'll go ahead and explain it. So fine tuning is, think of it like this, is I know a lot, which I don't, about our product line, which is Dell Pro Max, right? Workstation. When we launched the GB10, brand new product, right? So fine tuning is teaching a model something kind of new and specific that it didn't know before, right? So think of it, when this product launched, there's all these marketing specs, all these thermals, all these things it can do. I have to learn it. So fine tuning on a GB10, totally possible, very easy to do. Lots of playbooks where you could go do it, in PyTorch, or use, Jupyter Notebooks, or whatever you want to use, totally available. Local inference, I think, is very important, which I think at the end of the day, what you'll be running your apps on are the GB10, so you'll be using the compute for the local inference. I've seen a lot with computer vision, and definitely check out the playbook. That's at, well, we'll give you the links, but build.nvidia.com/Spark, where, and the demo's in the booth, which I think you all will be pretty much tied down doing your hackathon stuff. But the demo can take in a feed or a video or whatever, and basically using kind of computer vision / the VLM, basically inference that video to be able to answer questions, right? So whether it's kind of on the edge, at the desk, local inference, it's got covered. Data scientists we're already familiar with. Robotics, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a robotics expert, but I've got a couple people that I work with that have GB10s, whether it's Isaac Sim or I think they use, is it Thor too? Like, no, Thor.
Oh, Thor, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the other things. Yeah, I don't know anything about NVIDIA robotics. But use kind of the GB10 to train kind of their robots, their different models that they're working with. And then computer vision VLM, a good way to explain that within this. Computer vision is just, at the end of the day, a statistics problem, where it's like, hey, here is Logan's face. Within a certain percentage, how accurate do we think this is to be Logan's face, right? Well, that's 50% right, 80% right. And obviously, the more accurate you want to get, the longer it takes to inference, because it's got to look a little harder. Well, VLM is kind of, similar but different, Or VLM is, hey, it's a vision language model where you're saying, hey, this is Logan's face, but his Logan's face has an awesome mustache that he's wearing for the first time in his entire life, or does it not? So you're asking a question of the video, right? So all of this can be locally done on the GB10. I feel like I'm flying through this. What questions do we have? There's got to be some questions.
A very big
Yes, thank you. I
How
love
does the UI of a GB10, that Pro Max look like?
it. Looks, I mean, I would plug it in and show you. It literally looks like Ubuntu 24.04, like to a T.
Yeah, there's a GUI, you can go
Yeah.
command line, you can put applications on the desktop, it just depends on like what your operating environment. So
Yep.
anything that can run in that Linux kernel, you can set it up the way, however
Yep.
you want.
From the look of it, like the GB10 looks very similar to the NVIDIA DGX part.
Oh, what a great question. Do you think it's the same or different?
I'm not aware of the specs of the GB10,
Okay.
but the 128 gigabit RAM.
Sounds familiar? Okay. So it's the same but different. So when NVIDIA launched this, for example, like when NVIDIA launched this, there are a few differences, which I'll talk about in a slide coming up, but I'll go ahead and jump the shark, is from an architecture standpoint, like specs, all of that, pretty much exactly the same. We are launching the station version, which we'll talk about here in a second as well, which is the 20X version of the GB10. It's the GB300. But other than outside, we have different warranties, obviously, and support plans. We're offering, a 2 terabyte and a 1 terabyte hard drive option, which is a little bit different. And then our availability, as NVIDIA made, I don't know, set amount of them, how many ever there were. Once they're gone, they're gone. They're kind of like, a Beanie Baby, a collector's item. Once they're gone, they're gone. Well, we'll have constant production of them from now until we end of life the product. But from an architecture standpoint, very the same. But good question. All right, we'll keep rolling. So, and I think, how many of you, show of hands, how many of you had a job outside of school? I think most of you have worked. Okay, so at the end of the day, I think what GB10 offers is the ability for you to kind of have at your desk side the compute to do the workflows that you need to do. But if you kind of take that up into like a corporate environment or like, a company that you're working at, is your work's not going to necessarily live in a silo, right? It's not going to just live purely on your, dare I say this, on your Mac or on the GB10 or a workstation. It's got to go somewhere for deployment, right? At the end of the day, whether that's the data center, that's cloud. So GB10 kind of on this system on a chip design gives you the ability to scale and kind of build things, which you probably have not done, but I would promise you probably will one day, is up to, what do you call it? The NLV, GB200 NLV or whatever that crazy CoreWeave server is that we sell at Dell. But the idea is that everything's kind of, I think ultimately from an AI perspective, is going to have some system on a chip design that allows you to design at the desk side kind of all the way up to the data center, even though you guys aren't there yet. But one day you will be, and this is a great opportunity to test your skills for that in the hackathon. All right, we've already covered off on this. Your question, why buy it from Dell? Well, because I'm awesome, and you're here, and you could, are we giving away a GB10? Nope, sorry about your luck. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the shark. So why choose it from Dell? I mean, I think the first question is there's a lot of OEMs that will ultimately sell this, NVIDIA included and everyone. I think the difference, and then what I tell people is they're like, well, if it's the same thing, why buy it from Dell? I think the two things is ultimately is our availability, where it's not just in the US, right? I mean, we're selling this in EMEA and Europe, where, a multinational company, you can kind of buy it anywhere. And then two is that a lot of, and I won't name names, but they have a 1 terabyte hard drive. How many of you have a 1 terabyte hard drive? You have a 1 terabyte hard drive? Like for real? Yeah. Like on purpose? On purpose. Oh, okay. Like how old's your Mac? How old's your Mac? You just got it yesterday? Okay, I'm fascinated. Okay, why did you get a 1 terabyte hard drive?
I use it for computer vision models, so I just
You don't store anything. How many of the rest of you have a 1 terabyte hard drive? We got one. Okay, well, I didn't mean to call you out. I was just kind of shocked because I was going to make a point, and this is like the first time I made the point, and like it actually called someone out, so I apologize. But like, I mean, when you think like data science and all the work that you do, you have to have some storage space, right? At the end of the day, and 1 terabyte is nothing. Like the demo that I run, the VSS takes about 100 gigs, like on the containers to run. That's like 1/10 if I had 1 terabyte, right? Because it's like 1/10, whatever. But we meet you in the middle where if you are the kind of person that wants a 1 terabyte hard drive, guess what? We have that option. But if you're like me and you want plenty of storage, we'll meet you there with a 4 terabyte option. So I think we give everyone kind of, whether you are a 1 terabyte person all the way up to 4 terabyte, we give you options for that. And I think our service plan is different, right? At the end of the day, a lot of OEMs will, after 1 year it's done, we'll support it kind of through end of life. So I want to talk about this. I've been begging for this slide to come up because it's like my favorite slide in the whole presentation. Remember when I talked about the Connect X7? Like the port where you can stick 2 of them together? So how many of you remote into another system to do work through like OpenSSH or anything like that? Well, actually more than I kind of expected. Amazing. So I've got this wonderful Dell corporate laptop. It's not a Pro Max. It's a Dell Pro, which is like X latitude. Guess what's not inside of it? A GPU. But this is why I love it. You can use the GB10, which is being passed around, as a standalone system. Or you can take your corporate laptop or your Mac, heaven forbid, and you need to run, whether it's that agentic app, the computer vision training, et cetera, and you don't want to run it on your Mac, you're doing something else, you can connect in the GB10, offload that work to the GB10 versus, I think it's Direct Connect or OpenSSH, connect to that, run that workload there, and then bring it back to your system ultimately, right? And I think that is, in my opinion, the coolest use case out of all of this is that, for example, I'm joking about Mac at the end of the day, but if you're used to it, great. But let's be honest, that Mac, not a whole lot of AI compute on that thing. But now you can keep what you like, but then augment with something else, right? And I think that is one of the use, when I tell people that, they're like, their mind is just instantly blown. And I think as we've seen is that everyone is doing some sort of AI. Like you think back, I don't know, let's say 3 years ago, when you said AI, I mean, it was a buzzword, but I think everyone in most companies now are doing something. Whether it's they have a chat bot, whether they're creating, I don't know, marketing assets using like a company UI, or they're running some side of data science work, whatever it is the demand for GPU compute hasn't gone down, and then the risks and the security have gone up. So it kind of gives you that local compute option. We're going to try to play this video. Can everyone see that? Okay. So while we pull up the video, if we have time, we'll move into questions, but definitely bookmark this page. Everyone get out your fancy, probably iPhones, and scan that QR code, please. Very important. That'll take you to the build.nvidia.com, the Spark page. So it'll give you all the playbooks. It'll give you good references. It'll take you to, build.nvidia.com. So kind of a good place to get started. So while we're looking up the video, let's go into questions. So it can be about the GB10. It can be more technical specifics of the GB10. That's why NVIDIA's here. You've got us for probably the next, technically an hour and 10 minutes, but let's hopefully not stay that long. So ask away. I must have done a fantastic job. Like for real, it's your opportunity. Don't be shy. Yes.
So during the hackathon itself, will we be allowed to remotely connect after 5 if we're supposed to be done for the day or no?
That's a Paul Rogan question.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have the networking set up for you to be able to remotely connect. I would encourage you to, create repos and work on your code externally if you'd like to, and then run training overnight if that's you can do that as well. But I'll look into it, but I don't think it's gonna be possible.
Probably correct.
But we should have the email.
Well, I'm not connected to the internet, but yeah, we'll work on the video. All right, no more questions. Man, okay. Travis, y'all have anything you want to add? Helpful tips, tricks?
No, I think just taking a look at what's available out there. I know we have the out-of-box experience. content that shows kind of what the GB10 is going to look like ahead of time. They can take a look at it. I think you can find that. I think the rest of it is going to be, you build your stack in your operating environment, and you want them to be Jupyter notebooks, you're going to use Anaconda, whatever that is, set it up, and it's just, you kind of run and go from there. And then build.nvidia.com is again a page I'm taking a look at, because there's a lot of great starting points there. One of the questions that I had for our team is related to data availability, because we need data to train on. And I think Paul, you just sent an over on that.
Yeah, I put together a little document. I don't know, y'all are all data scientists. Are you familiar with different resources online to find open data sets that you can use to train on? I'm guessing. Okay, well, I've also put together a document that we can share with you that lists different models for things like context training, CV training, agentic fine tuning, and we'll send that around. It also has some of the important links from the NVIDIA side. But Veronica has it right now, and we'll email it out to all of you.
Where did you send the link? To my email? Oh. Oh, there we go. That's helpful. All right. Any other questions?
So this is something that we would be making, right? Something like that.
Hopefully better.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, if I'm not, the keeper of what you should do, I mean, that is something that NVIDIA has made. Like, would not recreate the exact same thing because it's already been created, but something in that vein, right? I think is something that would be a good idea. I mean, use your knowledge, right? Use your world knowledge, use your skill set. Like, there's no bad ideas. I mean, I think the big thing is you complete it, you have a solid foundation, something that's working, and then I think everything else will take care of itself. You're more than capable, especially on your Macs. All right. Are we good? Okay.